My name is Mike Sullivan. I'm a former IRS agent and teaching instructor with IRS. You know, IRS has something called hardship. There is things called an IRS hardship if you owe IRS tax debt. So as a former IRS agent, let me explain to you what that means. When I was at IRS, about 60% of my inventory as a revenue officer wound up with hardship cases. That means that IRS has what's called a national standard. A national standard is set up by the Department of Labor. The Department of Labor has statistics on where you live in every county you live in, and they determine what your standards are for housing and utilities, car payments, car expenses, medicals, stuff like that. When you give IRS your current financial statement, IRS lines those up in accord with the national standards set up with the Department of Labor. So if the Department of Labor, for instance, says, well, based on where you live, your expenses should be $6,000 and your income is below that expense range and maybe you only make $5,500, IRS will put that case into currently non-collectible. Everything is set up by the National Standards Program, set up by the Department of Labor. If you want to know what that is, go ahead and Google the IRS National Standards Program. There are three areas you'll want to pay attention to: food and clothing, housing and utilities, car payments, and car expenses. Those are already given to you by the Department of Labor and IRS. IRS will use those in all hardship cases. If you have any questions, you think you're in hardship, if you owe a large debt, I can represent you. Thank you.